We're live, I think. Let's freaking go. Let's go. Bob Chapek fired. He's out. Let's freaking go. Dude, I'm so excited. What's up, guys? I gotta see this. I've barely read anything about this, all right? I was kind of late to the news here. I'm looking it up right now. All right, let's see what we got here. Dude, I'm so psyched. What's up, you guys? Hey! Oh my goodness. All right. So everybody, we got some late breaking news here on a Sunday. Today is a day that will live in infamy, in a good way. November 20th, we got a new CEO. He's been around before though, so we have a new CEO, but it's a returning CEO. And Bob Chapek is out. Let's freaking go. All right, let's see what we got here. So first off, if you guys noticed in the last video, I was talking about a storm's brewing. Look, I don't know what I can really say here except, I've got a good read on these things. I think you guys know that. I put something out on Twitter on November 13th. I said a storm is brewing at the Walt Disney Company, and people were saying, Brayden, are you just talking about the layoffs or whatever? And, it's really something where it's kind of like you just kind of have like a sixth sense with this stuff if you pay enough attention to it. Like the fact that the earnings were so bad and the stock sold off so hard, something was going to happen. So it could have just been the layoffs. It could have just been Bob Chapek says, okay, what we're going to do is layoffs. Like basically that's his show to the board that he's like fiscally responsible. Maybe that would be sufficient. Evidently it was not. And now we have a new CEO. So let's see what happened here, man. I just found this out probably 15 minutes ago. I was working on another video actually about what I was doing last week, which was a bunch of stuff. So I'll have to get to that too. I have another video coming after this. Also, I want to do like a more formal video tomorrow. So it's just like a first reaction type of deal because we're going to get interviews tomorrow morning, on CNBC for sure. So that'll give us a lot more insight into this. But I got the Google pulled up here. So let's see what we got. This is so crazy. Let's see what you guys are saying in chat. Carly says, please tell me Imagineering will be the first area to be fixed. Yeah, I was working on a video. I went to an Imagineering panel last week, and I was criticizing it pretty hard. I think I'm still going to release that video as is, even though I didn't know what was going to happen because that stuff needs to be said. But yeah, this is pretty insane. This is wild. So I don't really know which article I should read. I know that he sent out an email, so I just want to get to that here. Here we go. Nope, that's not it. Bob Iger named Disney CEO in shocking development. CNN, that is insane. Where's the email though? Hold on one second. If you guys can tell, I don't do live streams in my house a lot here. Let's see. What I did is I saw people talking about Bob Chapek. He was out, and I was like, what? And so I looked up, Disney on Google, and it's just all this. It's like, this can't be real, man. This can't be real. Just absolutely insane. I want to read the full email that was just sent out. One second, guys. Bob Iger returns as Disney CEO, effective immediately, replacing Bob Chapek after a brief, tumultuous tenure, CNBC says. Holy cow. All right, here's the email. Dear fellow employees and cast members, this is from Bob Iger, who is returning as CEO, it looks like. It is with an incredible sense of gratitude and humility, and I must admit, a bit of amazement that I write to you this evening with the news that I am returning to the Walt Disney Company as Chief Executive Officer. When I look at the creative success of our teams across our studios, Disney General Entertainment, ESPN, and International, the rapid growth of our streaming services, the phenomenal reimagining and rebound of our parks, the continued great work of ABC News, and so many other achievements across our business, I am in awe of your accomplishments, and I am excited to embark with you on many new endeavors. I know this company has asked so much of you during the past 3 years, and these times certainly remain quite challenging, But as you have heard me say before, I am an optimist. And if I learn one thing from my years at Disney, it is that even in the face of uncertainty, perhaps especially in the face of uncertainty, our employees and our cast members achieve the impossible. You'll be hearing more from me and your leaders tomorrow and in the weeks ahead. In the meantime, allow me to express my deep gratitude to all of you. Disney holds a special place in the hearts of people around the globe thanks to you and your dedication to this company and its mission to bring joy to people through great storytelling is an inspiration to me every single day. Signed, Bob Iger. So there you go. There is the message that was sent out, and this is where the news originates from, I do believe. And there was a full announcement from Disney that says that the Walt Disney Company announced today that Robert A. Iger is returning to lead Disney as Chief Executive Officer effective immediately. Mr. Iger, who spent more than 4 decades at the company, including 15 years as its CEO, has agreed to serve as Disney CEO for 2 years with a mandate from the board to set the strategic direction for renewed growth and to work more closely with the board in developing a successor to lead the company at the completion of his term. Mr. Iger succeeds Bob Chapek, who stepped down from his position. Yep, so Chapek is gone. That is amazing. We thank Chapek for his years of service to Disney over his long career, including navigating the company through the unprecedented challenges of the pandemic, said Susan Arnold, chairman of the board. The board has concluded that as Disney embarks on an increasingly complex period of industry transformation, Bob Iger is uniquely situated to lead the company through this pivotal period. And they go on and go on and go on. The chairman of the board remains unchanged. Iger says he's optimistic, and then they go through some of his history. So there we go. So now the question is, what does this actually mean? By the way, you know what's so weird is we really don't even know what's happened. Like even going back to when Iger stepped down, that was so bizarre. And then we got Chapek. I always kind of thought that Chapek was just the face to throw tomatoes at, you know what I mean? Like I always that's why I was always trying to, sort of like see things from his angle a little bit, because he really seemed like more of a manager type, like a operations type guy, not like a leader or anything like that. He was always just, like a guy that was sort of, upper middle, in the management structure of the company, someone that could be relied upon. To see him have to take on this leadership role where he's supposed to pretend to be a visionary, I thought that was probably quite difficult for him, and I didn't really understand that. So like, why was he even put in that position? And honestly, I kind of expected Chapek to last a little longer in his position. And the reason why is because it seems like there's still going to be, there's talks of there's going to be a bad recession next year, things like this. You would think if that was the case and there would be massive layoffs at Disney, they are going to still have to do layoffs, I do believe, just throw that all onto Chapek, right? And then bring in someone new like Parks Chairman Josh D'Amaro, something like that. But I think what might have swayed the board is the fact that Chapek is not a visionary, and they really do need someone who has some idea of how to guide a company into a new era. And, for all that can be said about Iger, I'm not Bob Iger's biggest fan by any stretch, but yeah, he definitely is much more of a visionary and has much more of a broader understanding of the Disney product and where to take it than Chapek did. And that's just the truth. So, regardless of what your feelings may be of Bob Iger, Bob Chapek was definitely not doing anyone any favors. And I know there were some people out there that were really hoping that there was going to be this Order 66 where Chapek would go in and fire all the Iger people and the company would become better. It would go into this new age with none of the Iger baggage and stuff. And, they'd pay off the Fox debt and it'd just be like this whole new situation. But I just don't think that Chapek has it in him. I don't think that was ever what he was about. I just don't think that, was ever really built to be CEO. It was sort of a position that he was thrown into, in my opinion, and it was because of Iger, which is interesting. Iger was supposed to be replaced, or the heir apparent was allegedly supposed to be Tom Staggs, if you guys recall, and then that didn't happen. And it really seemed like Iger just didn't want an heir apparent. He wanted to stay on as long as he wanted to. And then that created a situation where there was no one to replace him. So when Iger did want to step down going into the events of 2020, it was like, we have Chapek, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't a whole lot in the way of options. So I think it's very interesting in this statement from Disney, how they're saying we're giving Iger 2 years, but they say in there, not like 2 years and then maybe an extension. They specifically name he's going to be there for 2 years and he's going to work with us to build the future of the company and find a successor that can carry the company into the future. So Iger's coming in with a much more narrow, deal this time where it's like, this is what you're here to do. You know what I mean? Which is probably something Iger likes because it's like a clear objective. It's not a super long-term objective. So I think that's actually quite good news. We got some super chats coming in here. I might have missed some, by the way, because I was so hyped up. Sorry about that. Jason said, could Iger broker a more favorable resolution to the assault on Reedy Creek Improvement and the political differences with Florida? Maybe. Iger's often kind of done this sort of like politically neutral kind of thing, which I don't really think is really totally true. But yeah, maybe he can broker something like that. I do think Iger believes himself to be somewhat of a politician, so maybe he'd be good at something like that. Absolutely. We'll just have to see. Honestly, the Reedy Creek stuff, like, no one really knows, like, what the whole deal is with that. Like, there was so much hype around that when it happened. I didn't even talk about it because I was like, this is all just political stuff until it becomes something manifest that actually affects Disney World. Like, what's the point in even talking about it? And it's still very much pie in the sky type stuff, but who knows with that. And then we got a sticker from Spectral Radio. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is just insane stuff, guys. So, yeah, I told you guys a storm was a brewing. I wasn't exactly sure what shape that would take. Holy cow. But I really like to bring you guys this stuff and sort of, let you in on, hey, there's something going on. And I'm pretty happy that I've been able to bring you guys some pretty big stories and sort of give you guys some heads up and things like this in the past. But I even did not expect it to be this soon, something like this, or even Iger coming back. I knew something big was going to happen, but Iger coming back, that's pretty insane stuff. Holy cow. All right, what do we got here? Jake asks, thank you so much for the super chat. How do you think Iger will impact parks entertainment in the future? Yeah, so here's the question is, what about Iger in the parks? Because a lot of people are saying, well, okay, so what are the things that Chapek did? Well, he gave us Lightning Lane, which I was the first to tell you guys about, by the way, and all this stuff that, has not made the parks better. So it's natural that, okay, now Disney's going a different direction. They brought back Iger. It makes sense that we see that go away. But that would be a revenue hit to the parks, would it not? So if they're getting rid of Chapek because he doesn't know where to lead the company and they're having these bad quarters and Disney Plus is in a state of disarray and they committed to spending another $30 billion next year, it's all a total mess. Is Iger going to go in there and get rid of stuff that makes Disney money? Is he really going to lower the price of the $15 hot dogs and $10 sodas and, the Genie Plus and all this stuff? I mean, it's hard to see that actually happening, to be quite frank, just because that now it's it's established. It's the status quo. People are fine with it. But the things that people really don't like the parks reservation system, maybe we can see that go away. That might finally be behind us. Please no parks reservation system. Please get rid of that. Maybe we'll see annual passes come back. I, for one, think Iger is totally good on just the parks just being filled with people. And, if it hits capacity, it hits capacity. That's how the parks have always been ran. And it was so weird how it hasn't been run that way this year. Like, there's no reason why it couldn't. So I think we might see the parks go back to normal on those fronts where we get annual passes, and the parks are busy. I mean, there's always a little bit of a trade-off there. It would be nice not to have to do the reservations. That'd be worth a little bit of extra crowds, in my opinion. The reservations are the worst. So that's the thing there. We got another super chat here. Ed 2020, thanks for the great news. Cancel parks reservation system, cancel a Courtyard Marriott being built by the Polynesian. I think they're still going to build that. We'll see. Rebuild the Luau Cave, a guy can dream. Yeah, I don't know. Part of the thing that was kind of good about the Chapek situation and why there was some hope that maybe Chapek would, use the current instability to just go in and get rid of a lot of the Iger people and change things is, a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing at the parks, the Splash Mountain, the DVC, the way the theming is gone, the creative direction. I mean, a lot of those people worked under Iger. It was just a continuation of Iger people under Chapek. So the idea that Chapek comes in here, Iger comes in here again and all that stuff changes, probably not, unfortunately, but we can dream. We can dream. People coming in saying, what's going on? Chapek's out. Can you believe that? Bob Chapek, CEO Bob Chapek. I'm pleased to inform you, CEO Bob Chapek is no longer CEO Bob Chapek. This is just the best, man. I can't believe this is happening. And Bob Iger's back. And, as I said, I've always been kind of critical of Iger. I've been going off on that Fox acquisition lately, but I think Iger is a visionary. I do think that Iger has a better understanding of this product than Bob Chapek by a long shot. So I've not agreed with a lot of what Iger did, especially in, the latter part of his tenure. But if anyone can go in here and set up a real heir apparent and fix some of this Disney Plus stuff, which is something he created, and this Fox stuff, something else he created, it really would be a good redemption arc on his front, and I think it would be very good for the company. I really think the reason they got rid of Chapek is because they need someone who actually has a vision in a time like this. And Chapek, it's just a bunch of talk. I mean, you've seen him on these recent interviews. It's just total nonsense. He's saying they're going to integrate Disney Plus into the parks, and what you're going to do is you're going to go on Pirates of the Caribbean, and they're going to be able to detect that, and then you're going to go home and they're going to recommend Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, that's so bizarre. Like, that's such a waste of time and money. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. And then the Wall Street Journal guy was asking about it like the other way. So what if you watch something on Disney Plus? Will something happen to you in the parks? Chapek didn't have anything to add on that front because the fact of the matter is Chapek doesn't like investing in the parks. We didn't see any investment under him in the parks. And I was hoping that, maybe he did want to invest in the parks, but time ran out. Time ran out on that, didn't it? Just absolutely insane stuff. Simon, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We got another one here. Joshua, do you see higher CapEx coming to the parks now? Yes, that's the thing I'm most excited about. I believe that we will see more capital expenditure at the parks because that's how you grow the parks. So it's so absurd that, we haven't seen that investment this year. It's so weird. It's so weird. We still don't really know what even happened. Like, Chapek got in there. What was even going on? Remember, he fired one of the big executives, Peter Rice. That was very bizarre. And then, and all the people, like the top people that were his guys, like it was like a very bizarre situation. If you go on these past earnings calls with the CFO, Christine McCarthy, it's very obvious that she has very little understanding of the parks. She says like the names of things wrong. Like, I really don't think she even understands I don't think that she understands the parks beyond an Excel spreadsheet. And maybe she doesn't need to as a CFO, but I think that you should because you could probably think of things from more dimensions and come up with a smarter strategy than just literally trying to increase yield, as Chapek and her would say, which is just ridiculous and makes the cast members hate you and makes the guests hate you. And so who knows what's happening with Christine McCarthy, but I do not think she was doing very good as CFO either, so we'll see. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, capital expenditure should come back to the parks, especially if we get a new CFO. David, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much. To celebrate the end of Bob Paycheck. That's sort of the bittersweet thing is now we don't get to say all those funny names. Bob Paycheck, what were the other ones? Bob Chapek, there's so many of them. That was kind of fun, you have to admit. That's kind of like a bittersweet thing. But, the trade-off, it's worth it, I would say, right? Someone says, I hope they get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. Isn't she retiring or something? I think she's on the way out already. And also, I think she's buddies with Iger. So that's the other thing you have to understand is some of these people that a lot of people don't like they're Iger people. So they're not going to, that's a lot of this stuff is not going to change. Let's just put it that way. But there will be some stuff changing on just like the flowing of money end where we're actually going to see investment come back to the parks. And that alone would be awesome. So I'm not going to, look a gift horse in the mouth too much here. But yeah, the CFO is important and they need a new CFO just as much as they need a new CEO. And I wonder who will be the heir apparent because it really seems like the board is bringing Iger back in on this mission to fix the Disney Plus stuff, to fix all that, to really give the company a vision and really, sort of execute on some of the things that left sort of in motion and handed over to Chapek, who has no clue. And part of that is setting up a new heir apparent to carry on this legacy. So who is that going to be? Is it going to be Josh tomorrow? Is it going to be someone from outside the company? That'll definitely be a major narrative going forward here. It'll be very interesting to see. We got some more super chats here. Plastic Joe, how is Disney managing to pay the debt with the Fox interest, with the interest rates going so high? When they acquired Fox, the interest rates weren't as bad. And there are a lot of other companies that are much more levered than Disney, like Comcast, which is building Epic Universe. But Disney is getting by, but that definitely was a big hit. Honestly, I think that Disney, even at their level of debt, could just be investing way more in the parks. It just really seems that Chapek, he's a manager guy, the CFO. I mean, all these people, it's just like status quo, spend as little money as possible, cut capital expenditure, worry about it later. Who cares about the guests? Let's just, milk them for all it's worth. They were increasing the prices of Lightning Lane, which shouldn't have existed in the first place. Just all this stuff that really just alienates the consumers that spend the most money to the point where they're not even going to want to come back. How many people watching this here have just been like, I'm just not going to go to Disney for a while? A lot of the people watching this, that's exactly how they feel. So that's something interesting to think about. We got another super chat here. Let's see. Andrew, how do you think Iger may fix his recently pointed out Fox Folly? I don't know. Maybe Iger will sell some of the properties off. Some of the Fox acquisition stuff that they acquired, they already sold off, which was all sort of like pre-planned as part of the acquisition. But maybe some more of that will be sold off. Or, Iger bought Fox, so this is his opportunity to incorporate it into the Disney brand as he originally envisioned. So maybe there's some way that he would work it into the product that Chapek didn't understand, that wasn't doing. So maybe this is Iger's opportunity. As I said, a little bit of a redemption arc on that front with some of the stuff he did in the latter days that definitely hurt us. Pokemon Gold says, hey, Brayden, how you doing today? I'm doing good. Thank you for the super chat. Peter says, fantastic news. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super chat. Man, guys, this stuff is crazy. Holy cow. The NBA experience sucked. Yeah, that was an Iger project that did not go very well. We'll see. I wonder what will happen with the Galactic Star Cruiser. When Chapek was saying layoffs, I was thinking, what is like something that costs a lot of money in, like equity actors, like expensive labor that isn't bringing in a ton of revenue anymore? I mean, this Galactic Star Cruiser thing, it doesn't seem like they're very booked up most days. Right now, it's probably pretty full because it's the holiday breaks. But if on off season they're not making enough money, who knows what happens with that? That's something that's pretty interesting to think about. Some people are talking about Splash Mountain. Unfortunately, I don't think this changes anything for Splash Mountain. In fact, I think if anything, we're going to see more things like that come to that vicinity, that part of that section of the park. We're definitely going to see some big changes to Magic Kingdom, I think. What else do we got here? What was that? You said layoffs and then announced buying a new cruise ship. Yeah, there you go. I hope the magic will return. Yeah, I mean, look, Iger, would you pick Chapek or Iger? I mean, come on. So I think that, Iger, under Iger, we got some pretty awesome stuff. I mean, just think about it. Avatar, Cars Land. And look, a lot of this stuff wasn't just because of Iger. It was because of the people you had at a lower level who unfortunately are now gone and probably aren't coming back to the company, sadly. But, it was Iger at the top that was funding those projects and giving them money, which is more than we can say for Chapek, who did absolutely nothing for the parks other than make them demonstrably worse, to the point where diehard Disney people have just been, like, hating on Disney, quite frankly. We got another super chat here from Hello to Your Face. Your take on Josh D'Amaro, Parks Impact, if he's successor. Yeah, a lot of people, especially cast members, really like Josh D'Amaro. I don't really have a great read on Josh D'Amaro. I kind of feel like he's doing that. You notice in corporations nowadays, like under the main people that are very serious, you have like I'm the goofy guy. I'm here to have fun. He's kind of doing that sort of thing. That's why no one ever really like blames him for anything bad that happens at the parks, because he doesn't really come off as like a super serious actor. He's kind of like, I'm just like a cool guy. I love cast members. That's great and all, but in so far as like his actual management, when rubber meets the road, what will he actually be like? We don't even really know yet. So Josh D'Amaro is still a little bit of a mystery box, as J.J. Abrams would say. So who knows? We'll have to see on that one. Yeah, Erica says he's a PR guy. Yeah, exactly. It's all just like, hey guys, I'm here in the Bahamas. I'm Jeff Probst. What's up, guys? This is where we're gonna have a new, cruise destination. What is like his actual philosophy? Where he would invest? What he thinks needs to be changed at the parks? Who knows with this guy? So I would like him to be the heir apparent. He seems like a pretty nice guy, but I mean, I would actually prefer Tom Staggs, but I think he's currently on the board of Spotify or something like that. But Iger sort of sent him on his way a long time ago, so I don't know if they're still even friends anymore. But Tom Staggs was very good with what he did with New Fantasyland, and also under him we got Pandora, and he set the groundwork for Galaxy's Edge, which, I mean, on a conceptual level, Galaxy's Edge is not the best, so who knows? But you know what I mean. They got to get someone in there. Hopefully, Iger has some ideas as to who could be an heir apparent. And I do like that he has a mission this time. He's on a mission where it's not so much like, because in the past, Iger, it's always been like he's extending his tenure and extending it and extending it. This seems much more like, here's your mission. By the way, for those of you joining us, Bob Chapek is out as CEO, which is so exciting. There's going to be a CNBC interview in the morning, I'm sure. I'm just speculating. I'm sure there'll be interviews tomorrow. So I'll probably do a more formal video then. And also I have a video from last week. I was at this big theme park convention, and I was actually at an Imagineering panel, which was quite concerning, to be quite frank. I was not very impressed with it. So there's a video about all that on the way. So we got a lot of stuff coming. John says, Brayden, can you say Cosmic Rewind is overrated? Please, just once. I mean, look, man, you know how much I dislike, I'm using nice words here, dislike that blue box, all right? And the support column under the Nova Core ship, not a fan. The Q, kind of cool, actually. The acting, really not very good. Chris Pratt, what's going on, man? What was going on with that? The ride is it's a little like, it doesn't seem very Disney if I'm being honest. I know a lot of people really like that coaster, but it seems like a little rough for a Disney coaster. Not rough like shaky, but like, I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's a very modern, very like, it's like a thrill ride. And there's a lot of people out there that really like that stuff. So good for them. It's definitely competing with Universal for sure. But the fact that they took them so long to build and the inside is just completely unthemed in the show building for the most part is not very impressive. So there's your there's a little bit of that for you. What do we got here? Market your industry. Will Iger bring casino to Disney World? I don't know. Hopefully not. I don't know if that's legal. What else do we got here? Yeah, guys, it's just insane. So I want to read the Disney full statement again, the first part of it here, because this is actually kind of interesting because it gives them sort of like the parameters. So basically, Chapek's out. The board is bringing Iger back in, and here's what we know about that. So the Walt Disney Company announced today that Robert A. Iger is returning to lead Disney as Chief Executive Officer effective immediately. Mr. Iger, who spent more than 4 decades at the company, including 15 years as its CEO, has agreed to serve as Disney CEO for 2 years with the mandate from the board to set the strategic direction for renewed growth and to work closely with the board in developing a successor to lead the company at the completion of his term. So they're already talking about after Iger as part of this. So that's very interesting and quite notable. Strategic direction for renewed growth. So this is basically the corporate speak of saying that we are currently not growing, we are shrinking. Renewed growth. What does that infer? We're not growing right now, right? It's kind of funny. This is so awesome, man. Yeah, so Chapek's out. That's just so crazy. We got another super chat here from our Disney World Fix. I'm convinced that the Fox deal wouldn't have been so nightmarish if COVID hadn't had the timing that it did. Yeah, absolutely. That's completely true. Still though, do you really think that like the Fox brand and all that sort of stuff feels Disney? Iger, he's really all about like the acquisitions, and I think Pixar definitely worked, but all the subsequent ones, like what do they really have to do with Disney fundamentally? And also if you look at Marvel, a lot of that had to do with the people at Marvel that Disney inherited. It was really more like Disney was the money, because when Disney tried to do the Marvel model with Star Wars, they epically failed. So I think that shows that there was something special about the Marvel team in particular, and that wasn't something to credit Iger or Disney for. It's Adrian says, it isn't an ordinary Sunday night. No, it is not. Someone says Mike says Fox isn't worth $71 billion. Yeah, no, it's not. So that was insane. So we'll see what Iger has to say about that and about everything. We know that there was a lot of disagreement between Iger and Chapek. They really became like polar opposites, different sides of the same coin type of deal, where it was really like, it seemed like Iger was feeding stuff to the media for many years, like really kind of like knocking Chapek pretty hard. So they definitely had a serious falling out. Last year, I think it was. And some of that was said to be over the data mining stuff, like maybe the parks reservations, maybe the way that Chapek was just purely data driven. Who knows? Who knows what the internal politics are? Again, we don't even know what happened with the Fox deal, and then Iger steps down, and then Chapek's in there. Why is he in there? Like, what's the deal with all of that? And all the stuff that Chapek was saying up until just now, and then he's just like, bye, I'm out. It's like so bizarre how this stuff just changes on a dime like this. It really goes to show, it really humbles you and goes to show just how little we actually know. We're really sort of, just sort of like just trying to perceive what's going on in a lot of ways. But I did tell you guys a storm was coming. I was, I do have that sixth sense. I knew something was going on. I really thought that Chapek was going to last a little longer at least because, economically, we're definitely not out of this hole. So it seems easy to just kind of continue to blame Chapek as the Disney Plus. It's losing subscribers. By the way, that might be part of why they brought in Iger and got rid of Chapek. The narrative that the media is putting out there is that the earnings report was bad. I think that it might be more than that. I think that they might be losing a lot of Disney Plus subscribers right now because if you guys recall, when we were still under Iger, Disney Plus was announced at the D23 Expo and you could buy 3 years for a single price up front. So you had this base of subscribers and all of those are running out as we speak. The last few weeks, those 3-year deals have been running out. And people have just been canceling. People have just been canceling. They're like, I'm not going to pay for Disney Plus anymore. I don't use Disney Plus. So you can imagine, Disney, who is so obsessed with the subscriber numbers and has made the main success metric, the subscriber number, that might have scared them a little bit because next earnings report, the Disney subscriber number is going to be not very good. I suspect that is just my speculation, not financial advice, but I do think that, there's a lot of people that were ride or die on Disney Plus from the beginning. They committed to 3 years up front and they did not renew. They all came up for renewal. And also the Disney Plus numbers are massively inflated because they factor in Disney Plus Hotstar in India and they're having difficulties bringing in subscribers in that market right now too. So both the way that they artificially inflated the number and the way in which there was the base core subscriber count, like on all those metrics, they're losing subs. So I think that might have had something to do with it. And who could fix Disney Plus, which is a technology project, a technology product? Probably Bob Iger, probably someone who was friends with Steve Jobs. Just think about it from that perspective. That might definitely shed some light there. I think I missed some super chats here. Sorry, guys. Let me see what we got here. We got one from Joseph. Feels like the parks are losing their magic, especially with Genie Plus. Couldn't be happier about the change. Yeah, it's really good news. It's really, really good news. Very, very exciting. It's Adrian. Do you think Chapek will undo some of the Iger will undo some of the things that Chapek did? I think I might have already read that one, but yeah, I hope he gets rid of Genie. I just find that hard to believe. Think about it. If the reason they're bringing Iger back in is because they need a new direction and the earnings reports aren't going very well, what do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to do? Is he going to go in there and get rid of the stuff that's making money at the parks? That would be bold, man. I really hope that happens. I really hope they get rid of Genie, but it's like one of those things where they did it, Like once they did it, it's hard to undo it because you're basically reducing your guest spend in the parks per guest. But something Iger could do to offset this is just let everyone back in the parks. Currently, they're not selling annual passes, right? You have to do the reservation thing. If he just gets rid of all this stuff, which is all a Chapek deal, I mean, they'll make more money anyways, probably. So I think if they just go back to actually having the parks full of guests instead of trying to like limit it and then make each guest spend more or else they have a bad time. If Iger goes back to how it was, I think that the parks will be perfectly fine. And the parks are always perfectly fine. We love the parks, right? So I don't think the parks are a major concern. So I do think that there's a chance they get rid of Lightning Lane and Genie Plus. That would be awesome. But we also need a new CFO. Christine McCarthy. Not been impressed with what I've heard from her on the earnings calls. It's actually kind of concerning, some of the stuff she says, how little she understands the product. It's like incredibly clear. Maybe she understands it on an Excel spreadsheet. But like there seems to be, you can tell the way she's talking, like repeating stuff that she heard from somebody. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. So we're talking about like Josh D'Amaro and who knows what the deal is with him. Josh D'Amaro, we see pictures of him in the parks almost every week. So, Parks Chairman Josh D'Amaro does have an understanding of the parks and the parks product because he's experiencing it every week. How often did you see Bob Chapek in the park? Like 3 or 4 times? There's like a picture of him on Wikipedia from a side angle where he looks evil and he's in the park. I mean, it was not very often, man. All right, one second. I'm looking at our super chats here. Ryan says Iger should work on bringing back Joe Rohde. I also wonder if Doctor Who is on the table now. So, yeah, I don't know about the second part, but yeah, Joe Rohde, I hope Joe Rohde comes back. That would be awesome. It's so ridiculous they got rid of Joe Rohde. Imagineering is a mess. I was at an Imagineering panel, and I was so incredibly disappointed with what I saw. They gutted Imagineering, and that was Chapek. Chapek hated Imagineering, by the way. Now I can just say what I know about Chapek. Chapek hated Imagineering. I'll actually tell you guys something that I've never told anybody before. I heard this from someone who would know, and I don't have proof that this happened, but I heard that Bob Chapek told people something along the lines of, and this just made me irate when I first heard it, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" This is when I really started not to like Chapek. I think this is just insane. He said something like, "Walt's a dead man," or something like this, something really irreverent and disrespectful of Walt Disney. So I don't want to get too far into that because I'm going to get really mad. But yeah, that dude was not the greatest. Let's just say, all right. And I've never heard anything about Iger saying anything like that. By the way, all right. So there's some things I don't like about Iger's management, but I've never heard him like totally crap all over the founder of the company and pretend like he's better than him. So yeah, so glad Chapek's gone. Bye, freak. All right, let's see what else we got here. John Joseph Gray, the fourth, says, so Disney could have gotten a better fit for CEO, but nope, they decided to bring back the guy who caused the problem in the first place. Wow. Yeah, no, John, I totally get where you're coming from. There are things about Iger that aren't the best. You know, I could go more into the whole like Iger situation and some of the concerns that there were in the past. A lot of people love Iger because Iger's a likable guy and he's always been more focused on, you know, the fans liking him, being someone that's likable, whereas Chapek really didn't care because Chapek has no political ambitions or any real reason to care. But honestly, I do think that Iger is better than Chapek by a long shot. I don't even think it's close, to be quite frank. I think that we'll see better parks management under Iger just by virtue of the fact that Iger is a better manager and a better visionary. So, but the good thing is, if you're someone who doesn't even like Iger's, it seems like they're giving him a pretty, you know, they're saying, hey, you're here for 2 years. You need to find a successor. That's what he said. That's what they're saying. That's not what he said. That's what Disney said. That's actually what she said. That being Susan Arnold, the chairman of the board. So, yeah, no, someone says Iger was not that great. No, he wasn't. But compared to Chapek, the stuff I just told you, I mean, the dude doesn't even like Walt Disney. So literally anything is better than that. That guy, Big AI, said, I mean, I work as a data analyst for my job, but it is nothing to being a CEO. I hope they combine the dissonance between data analyst level and I'm CEO level. Yeah, exactly. And then we also got another one here. Thank you so much for the super chat. Pokemon Gold, we should get the same monorail train set as Disneyland Japan. I haven't seen that one. That sounds cool. And we got one more super chat up here. It's Adrian. I never thought about this, but having Bob Iger as CEO during the company's 100th anniversary, it sounds so beautiful. Yeah, that'll be cool. They just got to do something, man. It's so good that they're actually doing something. We just need to see a management shakeup. We just need to see the house be cleaned. And is Iger the perfect one to do that? No, because a lot of the things that need to be cleaned are people that he put in the first place. But it's definitely a step in the right direction because Iger, pretty cool. Some of the stuff that he's about, some of the stuff that he's done, I mean, it's not all the best, but Iger, Chapek, come on, man. Chapek, what did he do for the parks besides make it more expensive, make it harder to get in, you know, be like a total jerk to the cast members, be a total jerk to basically everyone, flip-flop on his positions, politically and otherwise. Like the dude, it's just, who even is he? Does anyone even know who this guy is? Besides someone who doesn't really care about Walt? I mean, do we even know anything else about this guy? I mean, it's just like totally bizarre. Who knows what the internal politics are at Disney? I have no clue, but it's extremely strange what's going on. Who knows? But definitely a very exciting night. This is a very weird Sunday night, man. I hope you guys are enjoying it. California Dreamin', thank you for the super chat. Internal company rumor, Genie reservations gone. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Everybody pray. I'm not even kidding. Because this stuff is terrible. This stuff is terrible. It's totally anti everything. I mean, anything good in this world, it's the opposite of that, man. The freaking reservation system, the absolute worst. The absolute worst. There's stuff like that. Like, I totally get why Chapek liked the reservation system. Think about it. If you know how many, I know this has been said a million times, if you know how many people are in the parks each day, and you know in advance how many people are going to be in the parks each day, you know exactly how much food you need, you know, the cast members, things like this. Here's the thing, though, is they've collected enough data at this point that they can just run it through predictive stuff and get close enough where there would still not be very much waste. And they wouldn't even need the reservation system. So the fans would be happy. The guests would be happy. Also, it's not just the fans. The everyday guest has even less of a clue how to do the reservation system. You've seen all sorts of things. If you hang out near the ticket area, you have the blue light shining on people's things and they don't even know what's going on, and they have to go over to guest relations and they're told they're not allowed to go to the park that day and crazy stuff like that. And Chapek tried to justify, Bob Chapek tried to justify it just like a couple weeks ago where he was saying, imagine if you came here on a day when it was at capacity and you try to get in the park and they said, sir, the park is full. First of all, that rarely happens. At most, it happens like 3 times a year at most. And B, the other parks are not at capacity, even on those days. Also, who goes on Christmas Day and expects it to not be busy? Like, that's just like such a bizarre argument to make. And the funny thing is under the reservation system, there were way more people getting turned away from the park because they didn't have a reservation. They were ever getting turned away because the park was at capacity. That rarely even happens. So I get the idea that, if there's less people in the park, each one is a better experience or something like that. But it was very strange. And it was obviously like a data mining type of objective that they were after. And the reason the parks are doing so well monetarily is because the parks do well monetarily. That's kind of their deal, because a lot of us like the parks and spend a lot of money at the parks. And if you totally, you're just like not nice to those people and you inconvenience them and you disrespect them and you show that you don't care, those people are going to stop spending $10,000 at the Grand Floridian every year. You know what I mean? Like, that stuff will start to happen. And I think that Iger recognizes that. So I think Iger will do a much better job. For those of you joining us, Bob Chapek, no longer CEO. No longer CEO Bob Chapek. Bye. Bye-bye. Oh, man, so exciting. So exciting. We got some more super chats coming in here. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Anthony, for the super chat. We got another one here from Brave Kumquat, who's been around for a while. My DVC was going up for sale in January, but now we'll take a wait-and-see approach. What great news. Hallelujah. Great job as usual, Brayden. Thank you so much, Brave Kumquat. Great job. Yeah, no, it's so awesome. It's so awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good idea on the DVC end. I would wait. I'd wait and see on that. I'm so excited. This is so bizarre. I was like, I'm getting ready for bed, and then boom, I'm looking at this CNBC article on my laptop here. It's just absolutely insane. Oh, man. Mike says the merch is too expensive. Yeah. See, guys, I just don't want people to get false expectations. That's what I really try to do on this channel. Sometimes people call me negative or whatever. I just tell you the truth of what's going on at the company, good or bad. I don't really have any sort of like illusions about this company. I've never called it the most magical company on earth, because at the end of the day, it's a company, it's a bureaucracy. It's really the product, it's really the end thing that I think a lot of us really love. And that was created by a lot of people who are no longer with the company. So you just have to look at it as, like, what is actually happening? What is actually going on here? Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. So what exactly is going to happen here? I have no idea. But I just don't want people to get too overhyped thinking that soda is going to go down to $2 and the hot dog is going to go back to $5 and everything is going to be awesome. It's going to be a little bit more of a gradual deal, and there's going to be some things that don't go back to the way they were, unfortunately, because some stuff only moves one direction. I'm hoping that's not the case with Genie Plus and Lightning Lane. Hopefully we see those things removed. I think that there's a great value in removing the reservation system. I think that would immediately make the fans extremely happy and favorable towards Iger. And so I think that one will probably be the first, hopefully. And as I said, even on the data mining front, they've done enough of that where they probably can pretty well predict, how much food and how many cast members they need on any given day, just based off the data they've been able to collect this year, which has been a normal year attendance-wise. So I think that on that front, they're good at this point, and I really don't see the justification for continuing the reservation system. And if Iger got rid of that, can you imagine? People would be so excited. That would be amazing. We got another super chat here. We actually got a bunch. Let's see what we got. We got one from Myriad of Litany. Lose all the IPs and do 90s Epcot with Maelstrom. I'll read the rest of your thing. I'm already like, or a generic Mexico ride, or unknown ones like Tower Terror Splash. The commercialization of Disney World killed the magic. See, this is the thing, is like, Iger was always the intellectual property guy. So I just don't want people's expectations like, now everything that we want is going to happen. I mean, under Iger, we got basically no original attractions here at Walt Disney World besides, there wasn't one after Expedition Everest. There were ones overseas. But that was it for us, was Expedition Everest. And then if you recall, there was a thing a few years ago where Iger was calling Expedition Everest like nondescript or generic or something like this. Like, it didn't sound very good. And then he went out and corrected it, so that wasn't what he meant. So no, Iger is a big intellectual property guy. So if you're expecting something to change there, probably not going to be the case, but this is a transition process. Iger's here temporarily by the sounds of it. We'll see if that actually happens. You never know. Maybe he'll be around longer than 2 years. It's hard to know with Bob Iger. But hopefully I haven't been saying Chapek. I kind of mix up their names a lot. But yes, Bob Iger is now CEO again. And hopefully he does a good job. Just don't get your hopes too out of whack, all right? The great news at this hour is that we no longer have Bob Chapek, who was really bad for the parks, and the stuff with Disney Plus was a complete and utter disaster. You guys saw my last video. I told you guys a storm was coming, totally vindicated there, and now we get to see what happens. What else is going to happen in this storm? Or are we already on the other end of the storm? Who knows? Who knows? That's a nice way to think about it, right? Oh, we got another super chat here from Kent. Buy Paycheck. Best news of the year. Absolutely. Thank you so much for the super chat. We also got one from Brayden. Maybe it's about Chapek not monetizing the new Fox acquisition. He is from the park side and was uninterested and lacked the vision on the media side. Yeah, that's another way to look at it. I know that Bob Chapek had a lot of enemies on the media side of the business, which was, I kind of want to say it's actually something that I wasn't like super upset about insofar as Chapek was concerned, because I always feel like there's too much attention on the media side of the business. So like, I wish Chapek was a parks guy. Why didn't he put any money into the parks? If Chapek was really a parks guy, why did he put all the money towards Disney Plus? Like, we didn't get anything over here. So what's up with that, right? So, but yes, there was a lot of enemies that Chapek had on the media side of the business. And I do think that that might have been one of the direct contributors to his downfall. And that's why I say we don't really know the internal politics. It's unlikely that Chapek, they got rid of him because the fans didn't like the reservation system or because Chapek did all this terrible stuff at the parks. I'm sure that stuff they actually see as a good thing. I think that it more had to do with the Disney Plus side of the business, the content spend, the content management, the structure of the content. You guys remember he reorganized stuff and he put his people in certain positions. And that definitely was something that a lot of Hollywood was not a big fan of. So that might definitely be a contributing factor here. But I heard bad stuff about Chapek in regards to things he said about Walt Disney, the founder of the company. So, that doesn't help make me like Chapek or want to feel bad for him, to be honest. And the dude made a ton of money doing not a whole lot in his time at Disney. Let's be real. The last 2 years, I mean, the dude's been with the company a long time, all right? He deserved a lot of the money he made. I mean, like, the last 2 years as CEO, like, come on, man. It was not very impressive showing, is what I mean. I don't want to totally undersell. He is a big executive. I don't want to act like I'm better than someone who is much more tenured and has done a lot more in his life. So I don't want to go too far there, but yeah, definitely there were some issues on the Chapek front. Moochie the Cat says, apparently Mickey bars are people. I don't know what that even means, but thank you for the super chat. We got one more here that I can't click on. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here we go. From Chase, since the parks technically make money, I feel Iger will find a way to bring the experience up to the price rather than lower anything besides Genie. Yeah, I would just, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Iger. Don't think just because Iger's in now everything's awesome. It is better, though. It is better. That's the message tonight. And we'll know a lot more tomorrow. As I said, guys, there's going to be interviews tomorrow. There's going to be all sorts of news tomorrow. I'm kind of amazed that that Jim Cramer on CNBC said the thing about firing Chapek, and that's exactly what happened. What was that about? Last week, Jim Cramer said they need to fire Bob Chapek, and then that actually happened. He said that, I was kind of like, oh, they're not going to do that. And then they did. What the heck? That was crazy. It's just insane. I can't believe what's happening right now. CK Barry, I don't even care if the prices don't go down if the quality and morale go up. Absolutely. Thank you for the super chat. That's a very good point. We also got one from BT. FBM, how did Chapek even rise this high within the company? To begin with, he's clearly incompetent, plus has the personality of drywall. Well, someone like that is actually perfectly fine in one of these upper level management positions where he's a manager and he's basically coordinating stuff. He's like one of the leaders, one of the people they go to that's reliable. There's nothing wrong with that sort of person. It's just, I don't think Chapek was ever set out to be CEO, or maybe he did, but I don't think he was ever built to be CEO is really the point. And I think that we saw that. I really think that we did. It was just a lot of he just didn't really have a whole lot to say. He was really never good at the PR. He was really not good at the public facing stuff. Why would you even put someone like that in the CEO position? And I think that's actually where we can go and look at Iger, who's coming back now, and say, hey man, why did you even ever put Chapek in this position? Why did you do all this sort of stuff where basically you were supposed to retire in 2015 or 16 it was, and we had Tom Staggs all set up, and then you decided you're going to stay, and then Tom Staggs was out, and then you just kept extending until finally something didn't look so good, and then you just bugged out, and then we had to deal with Chapek. I mean, that wasn't really cool, man. So the fact that Iger's coming back now, and in this press release, Disney's saying he's going to help set up a new heir apparent for the company, a new successor to the CEO role, that is really good news, because this is really like Iger's redemption arc, where some of the things that people weren't too happy about, he can go in and actually, see his vision through and set it up for the next person, which would be really, really cool. So I'm quite optimistic on that front. And so is Iger, by the sounds of it. In his email, he says, I am an optimist. So good news there. But Disney definitely has some headwinds coming their way. As I said, I still think that hiring freezes, maybe not hiring freezes, that was such a weird thing for Chapek to say, because he can't do a hiring freeze at the parks. That's not even a real thing. Like, come on. They're hosting job fairs all the time. You constantly need new people. Maybe they mean a hiring freeze like at the higher up parks jobs, but there will be layoffs, I still think, because if next year you have some sort of serious recession in the real economy, where suddenly planes aren't full anymore and there isn't a backlog on consumer electronics, I mean, there still is, you can still tell that we're not totally there yet. If we do get to that point where there is a serious recession in the real economy, you will definitely see layoffs. And a lot of other companies are doing that, as really has nothing to do with Disney in particular. So that's why I kind of thought they just let Chapek stay in there longer, because it's another thing they can just tack on to him before they bring in someone else. But it looks like the Chapek situation was so bad, and the board wants a visionary so bad, and the company needs a visionary. So I'm very impressed by this move by the board. It's quite bold. They said, let's bring Iger back, see what happens, and have someone new set up for 2 years from now. I think that that's actually a really good plan. So I'm quite impressed with what we're seeing here. I'm pretty impressed. I told you guys a storm was coming. I tweeted it. I said a storm's a brewing on my last video, but I didn't think that we would see the storm come this soon. Holy cow. You guys heard me in the last video. I said on the other side of the storm, maybe Chapek won't be CEO anymore, but I really didn't expect it to happen this soon, I kind of had a little bit of an inkling, but holy cow. So hopefully I was able to give you guys a little bit of a heads up, sort of plant that seed, and then maybe tonight it might have not been such a surprise, but it definitely was for me. I'm like, holy cow. All right, we got another super chat here. G Game Master 16, since they fired Bob Chapek, who else do you think the board they will have on the chopping block? The CFO, Christine McCarthy. Please get rid of her. On the earnings calls, I got to be honest with you guys, on the earnings calls, Bob Chapek, he's totally fine. Go listen to the past earnings calls. When the analysts asked Bob Chapek about anything related to the parks, Bob Chapek can speak on it quite eloquently, actually. As funny as it is to say. Like, Bob Chapek clearly understands the parks. He just doesn't totally long-term understand the parks. And we've always said this about Chapek. It really seemed like he was around for the short term, and we were totally vindicated there. It really just seemed like Chapek was just trying to monetize it a little more at the long-term detriment, where guests were getting upset about it. But Chapek did understand the parks, is the point, to at least some level. He just wasn't investing in it. But Christine McCarthy, it was she would say the names of new attractions wrong. You know what I mean? And she's talking about stuff where it sounds like someone told her about what's going on at the parks. I've never seen her at the parks. I'm sure she has been. They did a retreat recently, but it really doesn't seem like there's like a whole lot of knowledge or background where she's ever been a big parks person. And that clearly shows. Hopefully we can get a CFO that knows a little bit more about the business, to be quite frank. I don't want to come off as disrespectful, because I'm by no means qualified to be CFO. So, so you can criticize someone who's doing something you're not, right? But, it's definitely a pretty difficult job to have, but there definitely could be someone better that would be more favorable towards parks things. Because under Christine McCarthy, oh boy, have things not been going that great at the parks. Investment-wise, capital expenditure-wise specifically. John Joseph, thank you for another super chat. Comcast right now is probably laughing and saying, here comes Epic Universe, which I think will make them #1 in Orlando. Yeah, I mean, see, that's part of the problem. Iger stepped down, let Chapek take over, and now that ship sailed, man. Disney has no response. They won't be able to have a response. because there's no time. There's no time. So Disney's response isn't going to be till many years later, and it's like a total. It's like the same. It's like the last decade all over again. You know, you have Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and you have Iger's CEO, and he's like, all right, we got to do something, guys. You know, New Fantasyland, Avatar, this thing, that thing, Galaxy's Edge. It's going to be probably the same story again, but hopefully we'll get some investment. You know, that would be awesome. So any investment would be good. We got another super chat here from Maxwell. Chapek was in place to make horrible changes, and then someone new would come in and change back a half of them, and people would be ecstatic, even if there were still some remaining terrible changes remaining. Yeah, exactly. That was always kind of how I thought about it a little bit, but that's not really what's happening. Instead, Iger is coming back, so and going to be setting up a new heir apparent. But yeah, I 100% get your point. You're going to see changes stay. Things that happened under Chapek, it's not all going to be immediately undone. I do think that there's a high likelihood they get rid of the reservation system because there's just so much upside for them to do that in terms of both. If you allow more people in the parks and you begin selling all the tickets again, you're going to get revenue spike right off the bat, which seems like something Disney's going to need if the Disney Plus product is falling apart, which I do believe it is. And I think that's the real reason Chapek's fired is because they're losing subs right now. That's just my opinion, because a lot of the 3-year deals that Iger actually got them when the fans, were at D23, now all that stuff is expiring and people aren't renewing. So I don't think that that's good. And I think that that's probably was a contributing factor to the Chapek situation. Also, that letter where he was saying they're freezing hiring was just so bizarre. So much of the stuff that happened under Chapek was just so strange. It was kind of good for my business because it's like, we have to understand what's going on. What's even going on? But it was just so weird. Like, why would you even say that? I was at Phantasmic last week, and there was people asking me, like, are they, so they're freezing? Like, cast members were asking me, like, so they're freezing the hiring? I'm like, they can't freeze the hiring. It doesn't even make any sense. There's constant turnover at the parks. Just sort of so bizarre. And then if you drive on I-4 right now, there's these big road signs, temporary road signs outside the casting center saying, job fair, hiring now. So it's just like totally all contradictory. It's a total mess. That's a good thing about Iger is good at like the public facing, the PR, the presentation of the company. That is part of the magic. That is part of the facade, the patina. And I like to look behind that and give you guys a little bit of like what's really going on. But there is something to be said about having that very professional, front, united front that isn't contradictory and just like a total mess and like basically a reality TV show like we've had the last 2 years at Disney. So on that front, Iger is going to be a great improvement, and you're going to see an improvement there overnight because Iger is very good at that stuff. Yetsen M says, I hope this means Imagineering is staying in California. Yeah, I don't really know about that. When did they first start negotiating with moving Imagineering to Florida? I think that was still under Iger, if I'm not mistaken. I think that Disney applied to do that with the tax management office here in Florida before Chapek took over. I could be wrong on that, but that was a pretty long time ago now. I think that there's a monetary advantage to moving Imagineering to Florida because it'll basically force a lot of the older people to quit, and then you just hire a bunch of art students, and then you just give them internships, and then 2 years later you kick them out and you bring in more art students. So it's just basically a way to make it a revolving door, super cheap enterprise. And that's something I don't like about Imagineering, and that's something that I saw. I was at an industry expo last week talking to people where this has been the situation with them, and it's very sad. And that explains why we see so many shifting ideas where the Epcot idea completely changes constantly, has no coherent vision. It's because you don't even have the same person leading the project throughout it. It's like a constant changing of people at every level, from the bottom to the top, all over the place. And that's why the products we're getting aren't that great, to be quite frank. So hopefully Iger can do something about Imagineering. Under Iger, Imagineering was pretty solid. So hopefully we get back to that. Hopefully we see some of the Imagineers that they wronged. Hopefully they get to come back, because there were a bunch of Imagineers, both really big ones that everyone knows their name, and also some other ones that just got totally shafted once Iger left and Chapek came in. So hopefully some of them can get their spots back and bring us some really awesome content, because we need that at the parks. We need new stuff. And maybe they'll give Epic Universe a run for its money. But they're not going to be able to open something until well after that, to be quite honest. So who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? We got another super chat from Brayden. Thank you so much. Thoughts on how Disney will combat Epic Universe? It's too early to tell. We're going to see what Iger says tomorrow. Also, is Chapek fired? I think he is. They basically thanked him. They thanked CEO Chapek for his years of service. It kind of sounds like he's fired, doesn't it? So I think that's it there. Holy cow. So yeah, we'll have to see. We don't know yet, Brandon. We're gonna have to wait and see. And Tyson, any thoughts on who could be the heir apparent? Josh D'Amaro seems like an obvious one. If you're talking about someone who is, people like him, cast members like him, good PR, that sort of thing, he seems like a good person on that front. But we don't really know anything about Josh in terms of management. He's sort of a question mark at this point. What does he think about anything actually? Who knows? Who knows? He's just like a spokesperson, goofy guy. He's sort of like, I'm an executive, but I'm like accessible to the cast member. Like that doesn't indicate anything about how he's gonna allocate funds if he's CEO, and what he thinks about the structure of the studio content, and what the allocation should be with capital expenditure, and what the use of leverage is within the company, and when they should be getting into debt and when they shouldn't be. I mean, who knows on those fronts? All we see from him is more like PR oriented type stuff. Heidi, thank you so much for the super chat. You broke this news to me and made my Sunday. Here's to hoping we can get back to some Disney magic. I'm so glad I was able to do that for you. For those of you just joining us, CEO Bob Chapek is gone. Hallelujah. Thank the Lord. So, yep, it's a really good situation. We got Iger in here. Again, I've never been a super big Iger guy. There's a lot of people who are huge fans of Iger. I think that there's a lot of criticism that could be leveled towards Iger that never really is, because he is a more likable guy. But definitely a market improvement. And the problem with Chapek is he wasn't a visionary, and Disney's in turmoil right now. I told you guys the storm's coming, and I don't just mean the CEO is going to be changed. I mean, like, they have serious problems on the Disney Plus end and on the funding end that they need to actually solve, and they need to have a coherent vision. And it's clear. We just saw a vote of the opposite of confidence from the board in Chapek's ability to guide the company. And here they are bringing in Iger. They're going back one CEO. That's how desperate they are to bring in someone who actually knows how to do things. So for all the talk about everything's fine at Disney, oh, we're doing great, and all this, how Chapek normally is, the way he was talking, obviously that was all just a total facade, a total lie, all just stuff that he was putting out there just to put out there. And clearly the situation is much worse than we know. And I think that the stock reacted quite strongly in that direction as a result of the earnings call. And then we heard the layoff stuff, which I think helped the stock a bit, because it shows that there's some, something going on inside the company where there is some concern about the financials, which is always bullish. But we'll have to see what happens. There needs to be something fixed with Disney Plus and the strategy on the content end and the allocation of funds towards the parks. And I think that Iger is the guy to get that stuff done. So I do think that that should be good. Hopefully, we will see. All right, let me see. We got some more super chats here. Maxwell asks, what magical amenities do you think will come back to the parks? Also, the effective immediately basically means that they fired Chapek. Yeah, I think it sounds like they fired him, man. It sounds like they fired him. We'll find out in the morning. I mean, this is like breaking news. We'll see an interview tomorrow. It'll be crazy. What magical amenities do you think will come back to the parks? What amenities haven't come back to the parks that we need to come back? I'm just so excited to see stuff that was added to the parks that's terrible to leave. Can we get rid of the reservations? Can we get rid of Genie and Lightning Lane? Can we get rid of the Rose Gold Castle? By the way, these are all things that I broke the news of. Can we get rid of these? Can we please get rid of these? Oh, man. It was so funny when I broke that Rose Gold Castle, because there were so many people, these smug fans that think that they know what's going on. They're like, that's not true. And it was. They're not going to actually do that. No, they did. And it was the same thing with the Lightning Lane. It was like, yeah, that's just clickbait. And nope, there we got it. You know what I mean? So people realized over the last year just how insane it is inside the company. It's a bureaucracy. It's just a bunch of people. People think Disney and they think of something that it's not. It's a bureaucracy. That's what the company is. When I think of Disney, I think about the end product that has been built by so many people over so many years. People that are no longer with the company or are with the company, things like this. I think other people just think it's all one and the same, and it's not. You have a living, breathing company that has people that are constantly coming in and out that all have their own sort of perspectives and visions. And some of those are good and some of those are bad. And it's good to sort of stay on top of those things because, it's not just what the PR puts out there. There's a lot more going on. We got other super chats up here. I think I might have missed a couple. I'm sorry, guys. The Burning Trees Project. Do you think the Yeti will ever get fixed at Everest, or is it doomed? Look, it wasn't fixed under Iger for so many years. I mean, guys, let's not get crazy here, all right? It's Iger. It's Bob Iger. It's not Jesus. It's Bob Iger. So, nothing happened on that under under him before. Like, why would it all of a sudden happen? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see that happening. I really wish we would get Expedition Everest fixed. But Iger doesn't really seem to be the biggest fan of that attraction. And also, that seems like a waste of money in a time where it seems like Disney's having money problems. But yeah, no, that'd be awesome. But I don't think that's going to happen at this particular moment. Yeah, some people are saying Iger's not a fix. Yeah, no, it is a stopgap. It is a stopgap. It's better than Chapek. And if Iger does what his task appears to be, according to the board, of bringing in someone else to run the company and, you know, a new CEO to bring us into the future, that's a good development. So don't just think about it as Iger this, Iger that. Hopefully it doesn't just become like a cult of personality thing where he's here for another 100 years. Hopefully he's in here to actually finish his vision when it comes to Disney Plus and Fox and these sorts of things, and fixing some of the stuff that Chapek messed up, which is really his fault, you know, how it all transpired and Chapek coming in. Hopefully this is all fixed and then we get someone new. That would be awesome. Neil says, it's not Jesus, it's Bob Iger. Can we get this on a t-shirt? Yeah, some people really act like Iger's like the end-all be-all. Clifflick says, can we get Joe Rohde back? Yeah, please. Can we get Joe Rohde back? Hopefully he does come back. Because he got totally shafted, in my opinion. We don't really know what really happened there, but the weird thing is leading up to when he retired, I was hearing that he was being forced out. And he didn't really retire, right? He went on to do some other stuff. The weird thing was he was at the D23 Expo, so I think he still has some relationship with Disney, or maybe he was just there as a fan. That was kind of strange. So maybe Joe Rohde knew it was coming. Who knows? Charlie says, is Disney going to bring back airport transportation? Yeah, that would be interesting. That was something that happened under Chapek that a lot of people really don't like. So maybe we'll see something change there. That'd be awesome. Trying to find these ones that I missed. Here we have Walt Division super chat. I almost missed this one. Thank you so much for the super chat. Curious what Iger thinks about the Epcot barges and if he'll do away with those hideous things. I think, wasn't that developed under Iger? It was. So I think they're getting rid of those regardless. I'm pretty sure they already wrote them off. Hopefully Iger doesn't undo that, but that's what I've heard. That's just a rumor. I really hope that we get drones. I really hope that we get drones in the next show. That'd be awesome. Maybe Elon Musk is in charge of Disney now. Yeah, probably not. I don't think that's what's going on. But yeah, so Patrick, thank you so much for the super chat. Why not have Josh be the CEO? Because he's not ready yet. Because Josh isn't ready yet. Hold on, guys. I have to check my battery real quick. I'm doing this on my phone. All right, we're good. We're good. Yeah, no. Someone said Elon is busy. Yeah, Elon's got a lot going on. Yeah, I don't think that Josh Tomorrow's ready yet. As I said, he's like the goofy guy. I'm a buddy of the cast members. He's doing that whole thing. Like, insofar as like, is he going to be able to manage the studios? What's even the direction the parks are going in? What's the direction that Disney as a company is going in? The studios is an enormous part of Disney. It's bigger than the parks in terms of the capital expenditure side of it. So like they have to have a coherent vision there, and is Josh the one to do that, or maybe bring in someone who is more of a visionary like Iger to right the ship, right some of the things that maybe he did wrong, and then, you know, move forward from there. Hopefully that's what we're seeing here. And then maybe we do get someone like Josh in the CEO position when he's ready. Who knows? Yeah, people are saying Iger started it all. Yeah, no, I know. I'm aware. I'm absolutely aware. And I don't think I pulled any punches here on any end. But Chapek, I told you guys some stuff in this. You know, he said all sorts of mean stuff about Walt. He was totally irreverent, and he's just a manager, and he's gone. And that's a good thing. That's a good development. And also, he did a terrible job at the parks. He understood the parks. I give him credit for that. And I do think that Chapek was working on some expansions to things like the Magic Kingdom. So he was working on some stuff I do believe I was hearing. But we never saw that actually pan out. And, you know, maybe Chapek's the victim in all this. He got pushed into the CEO spot. It was a total setup. You know, he had to take the blame for things that weren't his fault, that his predecessor set him up for. And then now, you know, the predecessor comes back and it's like, woohoo. So maybe if you look at it from Chapek's perspective, it's really not that great either. But Chapek had the opportunity to excel and make some bold decisions. And it was always like, a lot of the Chapek defenders are like, well, he's about to, this is going to be the time, and then the time ran out and nothing ended up happening. So who knows what the story is? Again, we don't even know the internal politics. I try to tell you guys that, like, who knows what's really going on? You know, this stuff is so crazy. I don't even think you guys understand how crazy it is. It's insane stuff. Disney's very important in the world. You know, just think about how many people watch those movies. Disney's a big deal. Not on the parks end, on other ends as well. All the media that they control, all the news. I mean, it's a very powerful company, and there's a lot of competing interests that want to control that stuff. Matt says, bring World of Color to Animal Kingdom. That would be really cool. That would be awesome. I think they've been working on cleaning that water that you have around the Animal Kingdom, so it might be something where they could do something like that in the future. That would be awesome. But the World of Color, yeah, I think the World of Color out in DCA, it's a pretty controlled environment. Florida, these bodies of water that don't have cement on the bottom of them. It's just like a body of water. It's a swamp. Who knows? Who knows? They're working on it. They're working on something there, I do believe, but we'll see what ends up happening. We do need like some sort of nighttime show and a daytime show in the Animal Kingdom. Austin, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. It means a lot. All right, let's see what else we got here. Darren says, how does the Walt Disney Company go from renewing him to firing him in such a short time? Obviously, there was some sort of change in direction. And as I said, I think it had something to do with that hit the stock took last week after those awful earnings. You had the CFO trying to make it sound like it was good, and it obviously wasn't, and the Chapek was doing the same. And I do believe that they are seeing bad data on their end because they've clearly reached the apex of what the parks are going to make under their current regime of juicing every park gets to the end of the world. I mean, this whole like pent-up demand thing is over at the parks, and we're heading into a more serious recessionary stage here more than likely. So the parks are going to be making less money no matter what. And then over on the Disney Plus end, you have all the people who signed up for 3 years at the beginning, and that was under Iger, all canceling, all being done, not renewing. So you're seeing the base subscriber number drop, and then the inflated subscriber count with the Disney Hotstar in India, allegedly that's dropping as well. So, so you're going to see a huge subscriber drop off, maybe. Not financial advice, who knows? I don't trade Disney, but and this stuff is kind of like important to that, so I don't want to speculate too much. But I do think that Disney's seeing bad data on their end, and then Chapek's out there sending emails saying we're gonna do a hiring freeze, which is just like such a goofy thing to say because that's not even possible at the parks. It doesn't make any sense. So a lot of these sorts of things, it's like trying to keep the wheels on the ship, like on the car, and it's just all falling apart. Like you can just tell it was just like totally at the end. That's why I tweeted what I did. Storm's coming, and here we are. Shane says, any hope for Splash? No. I really don't want Splash fans to get their hopes up. I am a fan of Splash Mountain, but I just get really sad because I know a lot of people are still not even through the first stage of grief. They still think that it's just not going to happen. And it is going to happen. It is going to happen. I do believe. I mean, is there a small chance? Yes, there's a small chance. The thing is that Iger was a proponent of that, I believe. So it's not like it's going to change on that front. But if there's a financial issue at Disney where we do enter a serious recessionary period, could something like Splash just be pushed off? That there is a hope there, but Splash is really close. They're really far in development. They're testing the plants behind there. I mean, you could say it's not over till it's over type of deal. If there's some sort of major stock market crash in Q1 or something, then maybe it doesn't end up happening. It doesn't end up closing, but that's really like you're dreaming, right? You're dreaming. And also, is that even something, would you really trade? Like, I want to keep Splash Mountain, but like there's like a world economy issue. Like it's not I don't think it's that important, you know what I mean? But I totally get what you're saying. I love Splash, but unfortunately it is the way it is on that front. So just expect what Disney said is going to happen on that front, because it probably will. But you can definitely hope for something better, but definitely Imagineering is really into it. They've done a ton of work on it now. It's no longer like some blue sky thing. They're about ready to get started on these Splash updates, both here and in Disneyland. Eddie says, in your opinion, what would it take to be a great CEO? By the way, you called it. A great CEO needs to be a visionary. It needs to be someone who takes responsibility and doesn't just constantly blame the people under him for everything that ever goes wrong. This is one of the things I'm not a big fan of with Iger, is he did a lot of that, and where it was sort of like the person underneath would take the blame, all that sort of, Shakespearean drama type stuff. But Iger is a visionary, so he's very good in that sense. I do think that he is a good leader in a lot of respects. It's just a question of what ends up happening there. And I think that a CEO, so it's accountability, it's definitely leadership, and majorly leadership. And it's also being a visionary. It's also being someone who actually has an idea of where he wants to go and constantly pushing towards that end. And, you know, if there's some bumps along the way and you take responsibility for it, I feel like that's a good thing. I feel like that all works itself out. But I know that this stuff is so much more complicated in practice, in reality, than it is in theory, because you have all these competing interests, people that are after you, people that don't want you to be CEO. So, you know, who knows what happened with Chapek and Iger and all this. They were definitely enemies, it seemed like, near the end. And now Chapek's out, so it seems like he lost the battle. And it is what it is. And, you know, Chapek, I heard some really bad stuff, things that he said about Walt, and he really did nothing for the parks on the investment end, which was bad for my business and something that the fans didn't like. And he basically juiced, you know, every bit of money he could out of the parks by just making it impossible to go, making everything really expensive. Just like everything that could be inconvenienced parks-wise was for the guests, and that was really bad for the long-term brand, like success of the brand. So in that regard, I am happy he's gone. So Nicholas says, any chance to save Reedy Creek? Yeah, there is a chance. The Reedy Creek thing's so weird. It's like so news driven and like, well, this is gonna happen. It's like, but what, you know what I mean? Like, if you look at the bond activity on it, like there's still tons of bondholders and people invested in Reedy Creek, so it's clearly not over. You know what I mean? So it's really more of like a speculative thing still. I just didn't like that whole Reedy Creek thing because as soon as it happened, it was a political thing. And then I remember the Orange County tax commissioner, someone claimed that Disney's debt at Reedy Creek would be split up, would be given to the county, and all the property owners in the county that had nothing to do with this debt would have to pay for it. I don't think this has ever happened before. I don't know if there's any court precedent for this, but you're really getting into this like municipal law stuff. So when there were all these Disney creators like hyping it up, you know, and sort of putting their own political lens on it, and this is what's really going on. It's like, I didn't know we had so many municipal lawyers in the Disney commentary community. Like, I just sort of just stayed out of it because it's like, clearly no one knows what's going on, including people that should. So it was really more of just like a news type of deal. But we'll see what happens with the Reedy Creek thing. It is interesting. And as soon as we have something actually real on that, you know me, I'll be here. So So it is what it is. So yeah, guys, I think that's really it. I mean, holy cow, this is a pretty long stream. Longer than I thought it was going to be. I want to get to bed at a decent hour here because in the morning we're probably going to have interviews. We're going to find out way more about this Iger situation. I'll have a more eloquent speech prepared for a video. We'll do another video. I got my whole last week I've been working for you guys, making this video, covering the IAPA Expo, and I was at the Imagineering panel, and it was a little concerning, honestly. It was a little interesting, the Imagineering panel, and maybe things are all going to change there, and it's all going to be for the better. I got to talk to the guys that made the kite tails and did the Epcot Forever kites. They're awesome, so I got to do a lot of awesome stuff. Got to talk to people who make the animatronics, you know, like the Baby Yoda you see Mandalorian walking around with, talk to those guys and girls. And, you know, the people who made the Tron coaster and Guardians of the Galaxy, so many awesome people. The people working on Universal, including the company that's building the Mario Kart ride and all this stuff. So definitely a lot of cool stuff they got to do the last week, and I'll be giving you guys some information on that. So very, very exciting stuff. And I want to thank all you guys who tuned in today. Very, very exciting. For those of you just joining us, you can just move the thing back to the beginning of the stream if you'd like and stay up till really, really late. But basically what happened is his CEO, Bob Chapek, is no longer CEO Bob Chapek. He is out. Let's go. CEO Bob Chapek, I don't know if this is actually true, but I heard from people inside the company that way back in the day that he was saying stuff about how Walt's a dead man, we need to move forward, this sort of stuff, you know, basically throwing out the playbook and wanting to do things the new way or the new Disney. And that's just like totally, that's not how an 100-year-old company acts. So there was a lot of stuff like that. Just personally, if any of that was really true, I was not very inclined to be like a huge Chapek defender. I really did try with him. You guys saw, I really did try to sort of like see things through his eyes a little bit and talk a little bit about some of that stuff. But I do think that Iger is an improvement if he's around for 2 years. If Iger's around for another 6 years, we might be in trouble because a lot of the stuff that has been problems lately was stuff that was started by Iger before he left. So hopefully this is actually 2 years and we have a new person that Iger sets up. 2 years for Iger to right the ship. If what they're saying, if what Disney's saying is what's going to happen, that's going to be really, really good. And today's a very, very exciting night for just about everyone involved. It's great for cast members. It's great for the park guests. Hopefully they get rid of the reservation system at the very least. Hey, under Chapek, we weren't getting really anything insofar as the insofar as the parks are concerned. So how much worse could it be? You know what I mean? Like, we weren't getting any investment in the parks. So Iger's going to come in, and at worst case, we still don't see a lot of investment at the parks, right? So like, there's really only upside for us here in this case. So even if you have some reservations about Iger, I mean, it's going to be hard for him to disappoint on this front. There's so many things that are so easy for him to do that would just be huge things, like getting rid of the reservation system that people would be so excited about. So I think that stuff would be really good. And also, Iger's more of a visionary. So even if I'm not like a super big fan of Iger's management strategy all the time, here's the thing, he is a visionary. I do think that he understands the media side of the business well. That's where he comes from. So I do think that he'll be good at organizing things on that front to at least make it more profitable. But I do have some reservations with Iger being CEO for sure. We got a super chat from the Disney Romantics. Given the timing, it seems that Chapek was a scapegoat for Iger's mistakes. You could say that, and I do think that Chapek was the scapegoat. I said at the beginning, he's like the face to throw tomatoes at. But if that was really the case, why did they fire Chapek now instead of like a year from now after the layoffs, after, perhaps a big recession? You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's really all about to fall apart, on the macroeconomic level, we don't really know. But if it does, there's a lot of components that go into that really have nothing to do with Disney. It's still something that they can pin on Chapek, right? But now Iger's in now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. As I said, I still think they will have to do layoffs if things continue as they are. And that really has nothing to even do with Disney. That's just like a more macro deal that every company's going to have to do. So we'll see what happens there. But it is very interesting they fired Chapek now. But I have a little bit of a sixth sense. I told you guys a storm was coming. I just thought it was going to be like layoffs or, something like that. And then people would just hate Chapek even more. And then Chapek would be out sometime next year, like Q3, Q4 type of deal. But sometimes your dreams come true a little sooner than you think. So there you go. Very exciting stuff. Hopefully I didn't miss too many super chats. I kind of when I get in these trains of thought, I don't like to interrupt them. There's another one here. Marty Julian 13. What do you think the theme will be for Disney's next park in Orlando? It seems like they want to do villains. I know they were proposing that for Magic Kingdom. I don't believe that's really going to happen in the Magic Kingdom, to be honest. The Encanto stuff, definitely. The Encanto stuff, the Coco stuff coming to Magic Kingdom, yeah, I do think that will happen. Villains, no, I don't think that'll happen. If they did another park in Orlando, it'd probably be villains, if I had to guess. I mean, what else would it be? I don't know. The problem is that they have such a problem with the themes as they currently exist. Like, what's the theme of Hollywood Studios? What's the theme of Epcot? You know what I mean? Like, they already have such muddled themes in these parks. So, like, what's the theme of the next park? Like, how about they theme the current parks? I don't want to sound like too much of a jerk, smug kid, but, like, what the heck? They got a lot of work to do, man. So, guys, I think that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. All the viewers, CEO Bob Chapek, bye. We got Iger back, and the board says it's going to be a 2-year deal. He's going to set up an heir apparent, and he's going to basically, bring growth back to the company and set the ship right. Will that end up being the case? We will have to see. We'll just have to wait and see. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see what happens. There's going to be interviews tomorrow. There's going to be more news coming out. We just have we have an email. You can look it up. There's an email from Bob Iger that was sent out to the employees. And there was also a press release from Disney. That's all we have so far. So we'll hear a lot more tomorrow insofar as the particulars. And once these people actually talk, we'll start to find out a little bit more. Hopefully we get a new CFO as well. Hopefully some of the other Chapek appointees are out as well. And we just see a total shakeup. If we're just going back to business as usual under Iger, it's not the most favorable. Some of the stuff that people are hoping will happen, like Splash Project getting canceled, that was something that it was Iger's people that were all about that. So stuff like that probably won't change. But reservations, that'd be a good start. The Disney Romantics, one last super chat. Brayden for CEO. Oh, I don't know about that. That might be a little far. I don't know. I'm just seeing what's going on, giving you guys the latest, and we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, very interesting times. We'll see what happens. Maybe Josh tomorrow will be the heir apparent. Now the question is who becomes the heir apparent. Maybe Iger will say something about that tomorrow. I'm sure he will. He won't name someone, obviously, not yet, but he will probably talk about that, as that was mentioned in the press release as one of his main missions here. So we will see what happens there. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving week. There should be, I'll probably do another Chapek, new CEO type video. And then also I have my video about what happened last week. All the stuff I was up to at the big theme park convention. So a lot to get to there. Should be pretty interesting stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching live from my studio here. I'm gonna go to bed. My bed is right behind the green screen there, and you can see where I eat dinner. You can see it's a very small apartment. My setup down here, I worked middle school, high school to get to this point, and the patrons help a lot. But this is what I do, so it's something that I've provided for myself. I've had help from you guys, obviously, but definitely it has been sort of like a bare bones operation. It's been pretty fun, and hopefully things will continue to grow on my end. I'm trying to do more of this documentary stuff and things like that. I'll continue growing on that end, as well as continuing to cover all the latest Disney news. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy Monday if you're on the East Coast. This is Brayden. Thank you so much.